Okay, let's be real. Generative AI is everywhere. The hype is off the charts, right? It's promising to change literally everything about how we work. But does it actually make us more creative, or is that just talk? Well, today we're going to cut through all that noise and look at a really cool, real-world experiment that puts that exact question to the test.
So, that really brings us to the core question, and it's a big one, you know? Can an AI partner genuinely, truly elevate a team's creative output? I mean, are we talking about bigger, better, and faster ideas? To find out, you can't just guess. You've got to put it to the test.
And look, this question really matters. Because, innovation isn't just some corporate buzzword. It is the engine of progress. It's the lifeblood of pretty much any business. It all comes down to that initial spark, right? That one brilliant, game-changing idea. So the real question is, can AI actually help us find more of them? So to find out, we are looking at a scientific showdown. Seriously, think of it like a great idea race. In one lane, you've got your human teams brainstorming the good old-fashioned way. And in the other lane, you've got human teams supercharged with a powerful AI co-creator. So, who's going to win? Let's find out.
And I want to be clear, this wasn't just some informal poll or a quick survey. Nope. To get real data, researchers Michael Gindert and Marvin Lutz-Miller over at Germany's University of Regensburg, they designed a formal, super-controlled experiment. They wanted to make sure the results were as objective as humanly possible.
Okay, so here's how they set up the race. They made the two sides basically identical. Same number of teams, same kind of student participants, everything was matched. The only difference, and this is the key part, the single variable they were testing, was that one group got a powerful AI brainstorming partner built with GPT-4. The other group, they just had to rely on themselves and traditional methods. That's it. And to really put them through their paces, this wasn't some easy-peasy problem. The teams were given two really complex, really modern challenges. First, they had to tackle product innovation for seniors in healthcare. Then, a business model for autonomous driving in the auto industry. I mean, these are two massive sectors where one single new idea can be a total game changer. So yeah, definitely not simple problems.
The rules of the race were pretty straightforward. Step 1, the teams just generate their ideas. Go. But then comes the really crucial second step. Every single solution was judged by a panel of outside experts. And here's the kicker. The experts had no idea which ideas came from the human-only teams and which came from the human plus AI teams. This blind evaluation was absolutely key to getting rid of any bias.
All right, so the race was run. The ideas were all evaluated. So what happened? What did they find? Well, let me tell you, the results were not subtle at all. The data tells a very, very clear story.
Okay, here it is, the headline result. The teams that used the AI tool, they produced ideas that were, on average, over 29% higher in quality compared to the teams who worked alone. Now, that is not a small bump. That is a massive leap in creative output. Just wow. But where did that quality boost actually come from? Because when you break it down, the story gets even more interesting. Originality, yeah, it saw a solid jump, about 24%. But look at the other metrics. Clarity was up 54% and completeness was up a staggering 59%. They went through the roof. This tells us something really important. The AI wasn't just sparking the initial idea, it was helping the teams flesh them out into fully formed, really coherent concepts. And it wasn't just about the quality either. There was another huge advantage: speed. The AI-powered teams got the job done almost 28% faster. So think about that. You're getting better ideas in significantly less time. I mean, that is the classic recipe for a productivity revolution, right there. This is also super fascinating. There's a big difference in the type of thinking the AI seemed to encourage. See, the control group, they tended to focus more on niche ideas, smaller, incremental improvements. But the AI group, they were way more likely to propose revolutionary ideas. We're talking about the big swings, the kind of ideas that can completely disrupt an entire industry.
Okay, so the results are pretty darn clear. The AI-assisted teams were better, they were faster, and they came up with more revolutionary ideas. But that's the what. Now we need to get to the why. What was the AI actually doing under the hood to make such a huge difference?
Well, the researchers explain this with a really cool concept called knowledge spillover. The basic idea is that real innovation often happens when knowledge from one field kind of spills over and sparks a new idea in a totally different field.
A perfect example is GPS, right? It was a military technology, but it spilled over into the consumer world and gave us things like Uber and Google Maps.
So here's the crucial point. The AI acts like a massive catalyst for that spillover. First, it just smashes what's called the knowledge filter. It gives teams instant access to a whole universe of information they could never find on their own. It also helps them actually absorb and make sense of all that new info. And maybe most importantly, it breaks us out of our own mental ruts. You know, that thing we all do where we just stick to the ideas and solutions we already know? AI helps us see beyond that.
And as the researchers themselves put it, the effect is just profound. It's not one thing, it's a bunch of things. They said GenAI tools significantly elevate the novelty, feasibility, relevance, and specificity of ideas. Basically, the AI didn't just improve one little part of the process, it elevated the whole shebang.
So the takeaway here is pretty simple, right? Just add AI to your team and boom, creativity skyrockets. Well, it's a little more nuanced than that. To really get the full picture, the limits and the opportunities, we have to look at what researchers are calling the jagged frontier.
The jagged frontier is just a way of saying that AI's abilities are, well, they're spiky. It can be an absolute genius at one task, like finding hidden connections across thousands of research papers, but then totally struggle with something a little kid finds simple. So what this study shows us is a really, really high peak on that frontier. But we always have to remember there are valleys, too.
Now, any good scientific study is honest about its limits, and this one is no different. The researchers are really clear that, hey, this experiment only involved students, not seasoned professionals. It only looked at 2 specific industries, and it couldn't measure any long-term effects. Like, for example, could teams become too dependent on AI over time? That is a super critical question for the future.
So what's the big takeaway here? The really crucial point isn't that AI is coming to replace human creativity. That's not the story. The real story is that we are entering a new era of human-AI collaboration. The AI is this incredibly powerful co-creator, this tireless brainstorming partner that can take our own insight, our own intuition, and just elevate it to a whole new level.
Which really leaves us with one final, fascinating question to think about. In this new partnership, where the AI is doing a lot of the heavy lifting, finding information, combining ideas, how does our role change? What does it even mean to be a creative professional when you have a nearly infinite creative partner right there with you? Now that is the big challenge and the huge opportunity right in front of us.